We're out to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
We are here in the costume shop of ACT with Carina Lopez, our costume designer, who is hard at work at cutting out my pattern, actually.
Yep, we're gonna do a mock-up of the lion costume, just a quick, basically a version of it made out of a cheap fabric that we have so that we can check the fit of the pattern before we cut into the expensive material.
Can you tell me, how long have you been doing costume design and building costumes and whatnot?
Yeah, so I guess why don't I start with my sewing history, because it kind of feeds into that. Why don't I start with my performing history, because it feeds into my sewing.
There we go.
So I started in the theater when I was 8 years old. I was really shy, and my mom wanted to get me involved in something to hopefully kind of bring me out of my shell a little bit. And so I auditioned for Pinocchio, and I ended up getting cast as Pinocchio. And it was a really positive experience. And so I went on to continue acting for most of middle school and high school. And I always was kind of interested in sewing. I was a very creative child when it came to clothing. I didn't necessarily differentiate between costume and everyday wear and what should or shouldn't go together. And I really experimented and had a lot of fun in middle and high school with what I wore. And so because I was always interested in really unique clothing, learning to sew was kind of a natural next step so that I could make my own outfits. And so I actually didn't learn how to sew until my senior year of high school. And I took an apparel class, and I just fell in love with it. I'm very good at geometry, and I'm very mechanically minded. And so taking this kind of flat piece of fabric and turning it into something 3D was something that instantly clicked for me. So then I graduated high school and went on to UNC Asheville. And I wasn't really sure if I was going to major in theater or not, but it had been a huge part of my life. So I at least knew I was going to minor in it. And having just learned how to sew, I started spending more time in the costume shop as well, and it was just kind of a natural fit. And the more I did it, the more I really fell in love with it. It puts together both my kind of creative side and the part of my brain that loves math and puzzles and piecing things together. So yeah, I ended up focusing more on costumes the longer I was at UNCA, and by my senior year there I was working as the costume shop manager. And I designed 2 productions before I graduated and worked backstage on a lot of them, dabbled in some hair and makeup stuff. And after graduating from there, I started doing some stuff here, and the costume shop manager position was open. So I started just a few hours a week, kind of maintaining the shop, taking care of the collection, making sure things got out to the dry cleaners and got back and were organized and went out for rentals and that sort of thing. And over the past, almost 4 years, it kind of grew from there into a full-time position.
Very cool. How many shows a year or a season do you typically design?
So I typically do 3 of our main stage shows as the designer. and usually one or two of our youth shows, in addition to being the advanced camp teacher for Tanglewood Summer Camp. But I'm backstage as the wardrobe supervisor on all of our shows, so youth and adult shows. I'm always backstage working with Jill. The two of us are kind of the ACT point people, making sure everything is good backstage and everyone's where they need to be with what they need to have.
So, thinking of quick changes, for anybody who's seen the movie or has seen the show on stage before, the farmhands are also Scarecrow, Tin Man, and Lion. And in the stage play, they go straight back to Kansas at the end, which is a massive quick change. What are some of the craziest quick changes you've ever been a part of? Outside of this one, which we haven't done yet. Yeah. So we all know it's going to be crazy.
Lacage was a big one. For Lacage, so Bradshaw Call was playing Zaza, and every costume was an elaborate beaded gown or flowy, gorgeous suit with different earrings, different wig, different jewelry, and different shoes. So Bradshaw actually never went to the dressing room during that show. I was stationed in the wings, and it was just after every scene there was a quick change. Usually how I start is with my research, and I kind of start to put together some ideas of how I'd like the show to look. So I always start with kind of a mood board for each location that just kind of gives the feeling that I want the costumes to evoke. And on these I put a kind of color guide on the side of the colors I want to try and pull so that it has a cohesive look and nothing pops out too much. So for Kansas, we really wanted to try and achieve that kind of sepia look, and then really pop Munchkinland, so there's that big contrast when she steps out after the tornado. So we're doing a lot of bright colors there, hence the green, yellow, and blue Lollipop Guild. Our Lullaby Leagues are going to be in yellow and pink, and then our Mares in green, our Coroners in blue, and our Barristers in purple. So I tried to kind of spread around the color. Oz, we're doing as much green and a lot of glam and sequins and gold, and really want to make it look very luxurious. And then Land of the Winkies, Witch's Castle, a lot of darker tones. So, the green of the witch, some deep blues, some deep burgundy, deep purple. And I tried to incorporate a lot of these darker colors into the ruffles we're doing for the witch's skirt. And then once I have my mood boards, I kind of break down for each character. I try to add any script descriptions, and then I just kind of pull things that are the world I'm thinking of. So here I have some images from the movie, some other images I found around, some images of some of the original looks, like this was an original test look. That was a test for possible hairstyle for Dorothy. And this was actually an older, before the Wizard of Oz movie, we all know this was a silent film version. And then I take all that and I kind of come up with my designs of how I want to make the look happen.
Just out of curiosity, what's the percentage of the costumes that you've pulled versus what you're making from scratch, like what you're doing with the trees?
It is a lot more expensive to make costumes from scratch, unless we already have the fabric. So I've tried to pull a lot. I don't know if I could give a percentage. What's fun though is there are pieces that I made from scratch for previous shows that I'm now reusing. So, I can show you. See some stuff? So, like the Dorothy outfits we made from scratch, and the Wizard's vest we made from scratch. A lot of this stuff was pulled. And then you come over here. These dresses I made from scratch when we did Anything Goes Junior for Reno's Angels. And now I'm reusing them for Snowflakes. And we're not going to do too much to them. Hopefully just put some snowflake appliques on here. And then, let's see, what else? We're gonna make some stuff from scratch for the jitterbug, the apple trees, like I said.
Look at this rocker
Oh, nice!
with green fishnet stockings.
Looking good. As you can see, costume shop here, we're usually working on at least 3 shows at once, because right now we have Wizard of Oz, we have Addams Family Jr., and then we also have Nights Before Dawn, I believe is the title. It's one of the Magic Treehouse books. So all 3 shows are pulling and doing costumes at once. And then as soon as Wizard of Oz moves upstairs, we'll audition the next show, and then we'll be doing those costumes down here. So a lot going on. But yeah, like this I made from scratch for Alice in Wonderland, and I'm hoping to reuse it.
Who was that? Was that Mad Hatter?
This was Mad Hatter. And I'm hoping to reuse it on our Munchkin City Mare. And some of these things we purchased. The poppies, it's just such a large amount of kids that without purchasing a base, it would just take us forever. So we're taking there's a green unitard they'll each wear to kind of be the stem, and then we've taken a red, like Little Red Riding Hood cape, Halloween costume cape, and we're stitching it up to look like petals. And then inside are these skirts that we're using as ponchos that will also be decorated with the snowflake appliques. And they'll be folded up hidden inside the big red flower ruffle so that when the drawstring is pulled out of the flower, it'll fall down, releasing the snowflake cape.
Little petals.
So these are the little flowers. Aww. And the snowflakes will come by and yank this out. Well, and it won't have a safety pin attached to it trying to grab. I should have gone the other way. I didn't think about it. And then the snow will fall.
What would you say to anybody out there who may be watching this who's thinking, I may want to be a costume designer in the future? What kind of advice do you have for them?
That's an interesting question, because I didn't necessarily know that my life was going this way until it did. I think my advice would be, it's never too late. Like I said, a lot of people assume I've been sewing for a very long time, and I didn't actually learn how to sew until my senior year of high school. So there's that. And also, as a costumer, everything is research. So, like, sitting on a park bench and watching people pass by, that's research. Going to the movies and reading magazines, that's all research. I spend a lot of time just kind of, if I'm out in public and I see an interesting outfit or an interesting person, it gets filed away for me in my brain. So I guess what I'm trying to say is one of the best things you can do as a costume designer is try to be present and really take in your surroundings. Because there's so much inspiration just in everyday life if you're looking for it.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for allowing me to invade your costume shop all week.
Yeah.
It's been fun watching how everything's going, and I can't wait to see it all on stage here in a couple weeks. So, thank you.
We're out to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz.